Hello, my name is Sarah, and I'll be doing my project on Sir Francis Drake. Some history on the Drake family is that they purchased some land back in 1481 in England, and they were farmers ever since. A few years pass, and Francis Drake was born. As a child, he was living with the Hawkins family because at this time, as children, it was common for them to leave home and live with their relatives to learn a trade or business. And in this case, the Hawkins was in the seafaring and merchant business, trading overseas. And ever since with his life with the Hawkins, he was learning how to sail and he was learning the business from William and John Hawkins. Drake and John were the same age, and when they were about 18 years old, they went on their first voyage together, and he was captain of the Judith, which was his first ship. They sailed towards the San Juan de Ula to do some business, but in the process, the Portuguese attacked them, destroying their ships and looting them. So Drake did what he could, he looted what he needed, and he left with his crew on the Judith to go back home. But in the process, they did leave Hawkins behind. But he eventually did come back home. Because of that incident, Drake and Hawkins were no longer talking to each other, and they decided not to sail with each other. So Drake was going solo, and he was sailing by himself back and forth to the Caribbean. He would continue to raid the Spanish ships, and he built a port in Nombre de Dios named Port Pheasant because this is where he would commonly go to loot, and he wanted a place to rest afterwards because it was a pretty long voyage to get to the Caribbean and England. Of course, some troubles came up, and his port was looted as well from the Spaniards. And then, after a year of some sailing, he decided to return home. When he was returning home, he was helping the Earl of Essex against the resistance of Gaelic. It was a brutal campaign going on, and England was behind the Earl of Essex during this time, where they would support him by bringing him men and supplies. Drake was the one that was transporting these men and supplies, and this is where his political status was changing because he got to meet Elizabeth, and Elizabeth declared him as a hero. This is where he started to get his title of being a privateer under Elizabeth. But of course, to the Spaniards, he was a pirate, and they had a nickname for him, El Drake, which was the dragon. Of course, this doesn't help his appearance to the Irish because the Irish did think of him as violent as well. During his sailings, he went back and forth to the Caribbean. He did decide to go to Africa for a little bit and Brazil, but he went to La Florida back in 1585. He went to St. Augustine and burned it down. He looted it, and there was a lot of destruction. The Spaniards fled into the woods because they did get notified beforehand that he was coming. And of course, the natives didn't really get a glimpse of him, so they don't have an opinion. So after all of that, the last voyage was in 1595 with Hawkins after they forgave each other. Of course, they were captured in San Juan. Drake did catch a deadly illness only found in the tropical climates. He did die of this disease, and of course, he had a burial at sea. These are some sources, and I did research on this project, but of course, Sir Francis Drake would always be a pirate to most of the world. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.